Hello, hello. Turn up my brightness. How's everybody today? If you're just joining, throw up a like sign. I love seeing everybody come in and say hello, so please do. This is going to be a really exciting show, actually. In my opinion, we've got some pretty interesting new information. So I hope that all of you guys are just as excited to hear about it. So hello, hello, hello. I'm just going to give it a couple of minutes. Thank you for the like symbols. Hello, Tracy Scott. How are you? Thank you for the like sign. Hello, Sheila. It's TGIS. Thank God it's Sherry. My cute little saying, right? I don't know how many think it's cute, but I do. How's everybody? I hope you have your coffee or your tea or your drink, wherever you are. Hello, Miri. I'm okay, thanks. How are you today, Tracy? Oh, you responded. You're good. Hey, Lisa. How you doing? Click, click, chick. 007. It's cute. Good afternoon. Thank you for the heart. That's awesome. Bud Light for what? You know what? There was one day that I had, well, it wasn't even mine. It was a friend of mine's that wanted to keep it here. They didn't want to carry it outside when it was open. I don't really drink beer though, but Sheila, I'm sure that that's what you saw was the Bud Light container over in the side. And I just hadn't put it off into the other room for my friend. Hello, Michael. Hello, Susha. Hey, Tammy. Rich Media. Hello. Keeping your testosterone levels high. Okay, easy now. Hilarious, though. Seriously. Hello, Art Studio. Hello, B. Jones. Hey, Mark Robertson. Chica. Hey, girl. Well, I'm not sure why you kept saying Bud Light. So I thought, well, perhaps it's because it was in one of my live shows where you could see the corner of the box or whatever. And yeah, I had kept it for a friend who couldn't carry it outside all open. So too funny that it keeps getting brought up randomly, though, like as if I drink beer. I don't even drink beer. But thank you all for joining. I thank you all for coming together to hear about everything that we've found out in the last bits of this interview. And I'm excited to share what I found with you guys. Hi, Kara. How you doing, honey? We had sort of left off on the, Chris Watts had sort of explained well, we had just left off on this point that Chris Watts had explained that he had explained to his lawyers that he felt that he had a fair trial, that he was the one that was running the show. He was the one that was telling them what they should or shouldn't do for him in his, defense and stuff like that. So interesting that he was basically saying, listen, I don't want to drag this out any longer. I know that I'm guilty. I just want to plead guilty and move forward and, sentencing and punishment and done kind of thing. It appears as if Chris himself is getting all kinds of love letters and hate mail included. There's been some people from Australia sending, hate letters and stuff. It's interesting they allow that to just go all the way through too. I'm supposed that they read it and then they move it on to him to make the choice whether or not he wants to keep it or not. But interesting that there was, this support from Australia. Hello, Tina. Hello, Lady Shady. So I wanted to get right into, at the 2 hour and 30-minute stage where we had left off, Chris Watts basically states that he didn't really have a whole lot of childhood friends growing up and stuff like that. And, he goes into further say, like, he really was concerned when the corrections van was driving him around. They had, approximately 4 different addresses. They didn't really want to let him know where exactly he was going to be going to. And they had stopped in at one of the jails called Sterling. Now, I did a little bit of digging into this Sterling prison to find out what exactly, it's all about. Excuse me. So, what I found out was that the Sterling Correctional Facility is located, of course, in Sterling, and it's a level V facility. It has a capacity to house 2,500 inmates, which I believe they are currently sitting at about 2,488 in comparison to where he is at the Waupun, Wisconsin facility, which is actually only, I think, like 1,300. I have the exact number here for you guys, though. Give me a second. Yeah, 1,330 male offenders in the Waupun Correctional Facility. So interestingly, this prison is known for having, many gang people and the serious offenders, I guess, of the world, right? So there's been a lot of riots in a sense, or where a group of people decide to gang up and attack like one correctional officer, and there's been people that have been hurt within this prison system. So, and it seemed that Chris had some knowledge on this also, and he was very much like kind of worried at that point when they pulled in there. And even though the correction officer knew that he was only going to be using the washroom, Chris didn't know if that was going to be his drop-off spot or what, right? And I mean, these guys look like people you shouldn't mess with, kind of thing. Interesting that he was a little bit panicked and paranoid there. So the purpose of the Waupun Correctional Facility states that it's to provide inmates, staff, and the public with a safe and secure institution while encouraging positive growth and enabling inmates to successfully re-enter society. I don't believe that that's ever going to be something that happens with Chris. Of course, he's got life without parole, right? But it seems as if it's sort of, as much as they house people that are gang related and hardcore, it seems more of a settled down, less security necessarily. You know what I mean? So the offenders that are housed at the Sterling jail, they vary in custody levels and stuff, depending on the custody level of the inmate and the incentives they are eligible for. They may be able to participate in wide variety of programs, education, and vocational classes, which is something that's not available at the Waupun Correctional Facility. The ultimate goal, though, of that institution in Sterling is to provide rehabilitation and successful reintegration of the inmate back into society. And in order to do that, the inmates are encouraged to participate in a variety of programs, classes, and they will improve their knowledge and skill set. Inmates can train for computer and electronic systems, food production, welding, masonry, carpentry, construction, and heavy equipment machine operator. So, he doesn't have any of that available to him in the Waupun Correctional Facility. It's not something that is allocated. It's not something that's offered. So at the Waupun Correctional Institute, they have 443 correctional officers to the 1,330 inmate count. So interesting, though, that he seemed quite concerned when they had pulled up there, and he was hoping that he had heard a lot of bad things about this place, that it wasn't going to be somewhere that he was going to be dropped off. And he was going to be in minimum restrictive, but he was put into medium restrictive. And then when he was moved over to the Waupun Correctional Facility, he was put into maximum restrictions. So, looking into available jobs and stuff within the correctional facility, they discussed what would be his options and stuff. And he had mentioned that the available jobs would be such as kitchen, washing dishes, pots and pan duty, putting food on the tray, stuff like that. There's over 300 guys in general population, and there's a job for like each and every one of them. So it's pretty obvious they will definitely be putting him to work once he qualifies to do that. He is in a special managed unit. And so like his current, that's where he currently dwells and where his cell resides, kind of thing. And he kind of sees a counselor once in a while. He doesn't take absolutely any meds, which most of the inmates at the Waupun Correctional Facility have a high risk of mental, or they do have high risk, or they are high in mental diagnoses and different disabilities. So a lot of them are on medication. And despite Tammy asking if that was something that he thought they needed, or they were just taking it because it was offered and it was something to sort of get by or whatever in jail, you know. Um, it's interesting that he seems to backtrack onto Shanann's cooking too, but whatever. I'm sure being in prison and not having as many options and choices with your food, of course, it's natural that he's going to be thinking about those kinds of things, right? He admits to having like a low profile. He doesn't want to talk to anybody. He doesn't want to exchange and figure out what they're in for. He knows that they probably know what he's in for. And, he just figures that it's a topic that doesn't need to be discussed, kind of thing, between inmates. He was asked if there's a possibility he's thinking of maybe writing a book, but I mean, he says no, not right now. We'll find out if that's, the truth in time, right? And then at 2:53, so 2 hours and 53 minutes in, it seems as if there's a little bit of a glitch again. They were talking about like what all is offered in the prison system to him. And I noticed that something glitches out there. I don't know if that's just, in the air or whatever, their recording facility inside that prison system. But interesting anyhow. At 2:55, Graham tells Chris again that the case is closed, the investigation's closed, that nothing that they're, going to be doing is going to be even talking about is going to be able to get him into any kind of trouble. It's all, done and over with, kind of thing. And then, they break, for lunch. So, I mean, it's very possible that something got cut off and clipped, together to avoid discussing too much of something that necessarily shouldn't be released to the public. So Dave does inform Chris that the water at the house has been shut off. The power is still on, and they discuss a little bit of, I believe it's one of his lawyer representatives that were there to go and pick up some items from the Saratoga family home and stuff. I wish personally that they had brought some body cam footage with them to ask him about what it was that he was doing, because one of these questions was, what were you doing when, Detective Cotter was the first one to arrive, and you go into the garage and you open up the passenger side of the door of the Lexus? What was that purpose for? What were you doing? I think it's hard for him to even look back and remember what the heck he was thinking. But had they have had that video right there to say, here, take a look at this and watch yourself, right? Run into the garage, and then he opens up the passenger side door. So, I mean, it's just kind of like, to ask him what he was doing, how many months later, based on what he was going through in his mind mentally at that time, I don't know if he was even able to, successfully remember that, So I almost wish that they had brought a little bit of body cam footage just to kind of say, like, what were you doing here at this point? Like when he went running into the house and he closed the back blinds, going outside to the back of the house or whatever. What was the reason for that? What was the reason that you went and opened up the Lexus door before letting any of the officers into the house to search and stuff? Hello, Kimberly. Yeah, he was on suicide watch, Chica, at the Colorado Correctional Facility before he was sentenced. I think that was mostly due to wanting to have some justice before he potentially did take his own life, and then Sandra and Frankie not having any kind of closure to, the crime and stuff, Hello, Bella girl. Hello, Kathy. It's interesting. At one point, Chris says at the very end, you guys, they start talking about other guys. Well, I know they're talking about Patrick Frazee, but I also know that they're talking about Jake Thomas Patterson, the abductor of Jamie Kloss, right? And even Chris says to the officers, like, that guy here, he's supposed to be coming here, and he better watch out if he does come here, kind of thing. And I'm thinking, like, Jamie Kloss is at least alive. You've killed both of your kids. I mean, aren't you a little bit concerned for your own safety? But, whatever. Okay, so back to this. So like at 3 hours, 7 minutes in, or about 3 hours, 7 seconds, sorry. They start talking about the last moments of Shanann and her fight with Chris and stuff. And he specifically says that none of what happened and none of what was said and none of that fight warranted any of what he did, and that he had two hands around her neck and stuff. He even comments that there was no bloodshot eyes with Shanann and that he didn't notice anything, off about her at all, really. Which usually happens in strangulation, right? I mean, you're cutting off the blood vessels. Of course, the eye blood, are going to pop, and it's going to make the eye bloodshot and stuff like that. Like, I mean, there's going to be signs that the asphyxiation happened like that, right? And they specifically keep sort of asking about whether or not a pillow was used or what. So I wonder if perhaps, he did use this pillow and as well, or something at one point. I don't know. It seems as if he has no idea why there could be any makeup on this pillow. He seems almost a little bit lost in that conversation. But at 3 minutes and 11 seconds, he says that Bella had walked in, while things were happening. And Shanann was saying, like, I knew there was someone else, you know what I mean? And, of course, when Chris had her all wrapped up, he tried to attempt to carry her down the stairs, but her dead weight, I guess, was too heavy for him. And he ended up dropping her. And Bella saw all of this and started crying because, I mean, she could seriously tell, even at 4 years old, that something was seriously wrong with her mom and that she wasn't moving. Now, Chris states that there's no way that Bella touched her mother before, he carried her off into the truck and stuff, but she was following him around the house during this, and he had to leave the house to go and get his truck to the back of the garage. So there's moments when he is not even around the girls to know whether or not they are touching mom and trying to wake her up and, they just think maybe she's sick and sleeping and stuff, right? But I mean, he states that they didn't, but he doesn't, in fact, in my opinion, really know that for a fact, because he had to leave the house while everybody was awake to get his truck into the driveway before bringing, Shanann out and putting her into the truck. And he states that Bella was awake and aware of all of this the entire time. You can imagine, poor little Bella's mind as she's watching her father trying to carry her mother, but then he drops her as she stumbles, down the stairs. He's trying to drag her out of the house in a sense because she's, heavy or dead, right? I mean, it's dead weight. Unbelievable, that little Bella had to witness all of that. I mean, it's just heartbreaking in my opinion. But she's following him around the house, and she's watching him. She's watching him put her into the truck, on the floor of the truck, nonetheless, And then what's really, really interesting is that about 3 minutes and 13 seconds in, no, sorry, 3 hours and 13 minutes in, for crying out loud. That's what happens when I write my things in point form. In short form, is sometimes I misread it, So at 3 hours and 13 minutes in, Chris asks Graham if he's actually watched the video. And Graham responds to Chris, yeah, that was hard to see. It was hard to see. And I mean, so like, obviously the Vivint camera footage was released to the police and they were able to see Chris's actions throughout the house before, he left and what sort of transpired. Cece, of course, woke up during Chris dragging Shanann down the stairs because of the thumping and everything that was going on. You know, sort of chaos. I'm sure she even probably heard Bella getting a little bit upset and crying, wondering what's wrong with mommy and why is she not, you know, standing and walking around and talking and stuff like that. So, in my opinion, Chris doesn't really necessarily know for sure whether or not the girls touched their mother while he was going out to get his truck, you know? And I believe that, you know, Shanann sort of had some inkling that there was something going on. And Chris even states that there was a point, at one point, Shanann accused him when they were out at the beach that, you know, she knew that there was someone else. She just had this feeling that she knew there was somebody else. Tammy asks at one point, did you cover her face with anything in regards to Shanann? And Chris Watts says, I don't know what all happened. That was his exact response, was, I don't know what all happened. Like, were you not there, kind of thing? And like, how come you don't know exactly what all happened when you were the one that was going through the motions and creating what happened, you know? And he's had a lot of time to think about it too, right? So it's kind of, it's like as if you don't have these details, right? Excuse me, sorry. So in all honesty, at 3 hours and 17 minutes, you know, he's stating that he had grabbed the blankets and the kids and everybody and, you know, hauled everybody off to the service site and stuff like that. He states that he brought the blanket into the back seat and he put it over Cece's head or face and pushed on her mouth, and then after she stopped moving, she, you know, he brought her to the tank while Bella was still alive. So Bella's literally watching her sister die after watching her mom get pulled out of the truck and put off to the side. And now, you know, he's coming back for her. I mean, I'm sure she was just like at 4 years old wondering what the fiddle is going on in her little mind, and where is somebody I can trust, for crying out loud. Then Graham asks Chris, so she went in feet first, right? And Chris's response is, I think so. I think so. Like, wait a minute, you know, who put her into the tank? Right? I mean, you would think that you would actually know that if you were the one that did this, right? And then of course Bella, you know, she's questioning her father, like, is the same thing going to happen to me that just happened to Cece? Of course, if she's watching her father carry her little sister, you know, all the way up these stairs to this tank and then proceeds to drop her in, and she's gone. Like, she can't see her anymore. She knows something bad's happened to her. And then the fact that they keep asking whether or not the girls were perhaps alive at in any way, maybe just slowed heartbeat or almost dead, but not quite, but unconscious, you know, that they were put into the oil and that's where they died, kind of thing. It's a little suspicious that they're asking that repeatedly. At 3 hours and 22 minutes in, Chris says, you know, we have a shovel and a weed whacker. I mean, who's we? I mean, in all honesty, you know. And then at 3 hours and 23 minutes in, he's saying that, you know, he didn't notice anything else marks wise other than the bloodshot eyes you were talking about. No part in this 5 hours of interview do we hear Graham, Tammy, or Dave talk about the bloodshot eyes. So where did we miss that conversation? Because they hadn't been talking this entire time, yet, you know, Chris specifically says, you know, like, you know, I no, I didn't notice the bloodshot eyes that you mentioned. So in my opinion, there is some pieces of this that seem to be missing. because we didn't hear about that conversation. And you can very quietly hear Graham respond with a very small, yeah, and that's it. And that was at the 3 hours and 23 minutes in. So, I mean, if you guys haven't, heard some of these things that I'm bringing up, certainly take this timestamp and go back into the prison interview that I've uploaded and go straight to these timestamps. And you can just hear exactly what I'm talking about, to sort of finalize it for yourself and make up your own mind. Many questions left unanswered. Absolutely, yes. I agree, totally. What makes you think he was gay? Who? I must have missed somebody's comment. No, there's nothing to say that he was, and I mean, as far as we know, he's being honest about that. I don't know. It sounds genuine that he really has no idea who these people are and stuff like that, which is interesting because the officers even ask him at one point. I believe it's Tammy that says, would you like to see those people charged? That there was a bunch of people that were coming forward with all these false stories about where they perhaps knew him from or what, they had done things with him. Meanwhile, it appears as if he doesn't even know what some of these apps are and stuff like that. So a little bit confusing, right? And I mean, he does say that he doesn't want these people charged or whatever. Yeah, it doesn't really matter if he's into guys or not. It sounded genuine though, that he was really confused as to what the heck that was all about. But interesting, that Chris is like, no, just let them get theirs or whatever off to the side. Doesn't really matter. I don't want them charged. Meanwhile, all these people are coming up with all these false, crazy, stupid stories. Like they have nothing better to do but come forward with these crazy stories. Like I don't understand why people would want to do that. You know what I mean? Why would you want to attach yourself to somebody who's murdered his entire family? I don't get it, but whatever. To each their own. So at 3 hours and 29 minutes in, he starts talking about the Battery song and that Nicole was the one that mentioned this song to him and that she wanted to know what it meant. Meanwhile, she's the one that's bringing him the song and stuff like that. So very odd. And he responds with, NK's got me into, a few things, but he doesn't really elaborate on that. And I wonder what all she really got him into, in a sense that, he ran with, right? Couple of books that he had read right when he was first sort of locked up was the Murder at Kennedy Center by Margaret Truman. I looked up the book just to see what it was about and stuff. And I mean, it's a political book about a woman who was murdered within the house and stuff like that. One of the other books they question him about is The Body of Evidence by Patricia Cornwell. And I also looked up that book because I wanted to know what it was about. The Body of Evidence says in the plot summary that Kay Scarpetta, chief medical examiner of Virginia, gets involved in the case of a brutal stabbing death in Richmond of romance writer Beryl Madison. Then Madison's greedy lawyer accuses Scarpetta of losing his client's latest manuscript, an autobiographical expose of Beryl's early life as protege of the legendary novelist. As more deaths occur and the killer closes in on her, Kay finds herself also having to deal with the unexpected reappearance of a long-lost lover, Mark James. Scarpetta soon finds herself living Beryl's nightmare. So, and they had asked him what he thought about these books and stuff like that, and what he sort of thinks about all of this now. And I mean, his response is that, he's feeling like the pressure of everybody judging him and judging him off of his one last move on the outside, in a sense, if you will. but he feels that he shouldn't really care what people think of him and stuff like that. However, when you do something this heinous, you bring that upon yourself within the public, especially the fact that this case was so publicized that so many people around the world knew about it and were automatically building a judgment. No matter how he was treated in the relationship, he always had the option to walk out the door or get a divorce. He didn't have to, annihilate his entire family. And then they ask him at 3 hours and 36 minutes in, did you know that you were going to kill the girls while you were going out to the survey site? And, his response was, you mean the oil tanks? Like, what do you mean? You mean the oil tank? No, we mean, like, did you mean to kill them? You know what I mean? He doesn't really complete his sentence. He starts by saying, the whole trip, it was like I was on. And then he stops talking and goes into responding as to something else. On what? On autopilot? On, evil? On drugs? On what? Were you know what I mean? And then he further responds with, like, was I even ever a dad? Like at one point, kind of questioning himself as to how much he ever really loved everybody that he helped to bring into this world, But he seemed very resentful at the fact that Shanann and Cindy and, his side of the family, they couldn't really get along. And that division of, Chris and Shanann team against Ronnie and Cindy team, well, and even Jamie was included into that one. He felt the pressure of that and stuff. I like the way he starts to sort of recount his marriage or his proposal to Shanann, and that he went to ask Frankie Sr. for her hand in marriage, and that Cindy was always sort of not getting along with Shanann. She was always like, well, I didn't need an expensive ring like that, and I didn't need a big house, and I didn't need a lavish wedding, and, basically comparing herself and creating for this division. I didn't need all this fancy stuff. And then, of course, with them moving from Colorado to, they basically severed at that point because it was such a distance that they weren't able to just jump into the vehicle and drive a little ways to go and see each other and stuff. So it felt almost like to him that it was a division, a division from him away from his family. And, he truly wasn't happy, but he wasn't admitting it. And he really wasn't focusing on that. He was just sort of going through the motions, in my opinion. They had married, of course, 2012, November. And, as we all know, Jamie and Cindy and Ronnie, nobody attended the wedding. Jamie didn't even send out invitations properly. And I mean, there was such a division that they were just not even accepting of Shanann at all. And then at 3 hours and 44 minutes, again, I feel like there's a little bit of a glitch there or something. I don't know. I'll let you guys go and listen to that if you wish. And then he admits at 3 hours 45 minutes in that if he had never met Nikki, he probably would have never ever reevaluated his relationship with his wife. He would have just made things work. But because of the way that she sort of put herself out there to be that perfect woman, despite the fact that, he was saying that he had to talk her down sometimes, that she couldn't handle being the second woman and, second fiddle and stuff like that, that she wasn't first choice. And that was very obvious from July 4th when he was sleeping at her house and Shanann's trying to call in early in the morning for the kids. And, he's scrambling out the door to take off on Nikki or whatever, to run to take care of his wife. And, it was very, very obvious that he was choosing his wife and his kids first, pretty frequently. But then he also tells us that Nikki is the one that taught him or showed him about this secret app where he could keep photos of her on his phone, which is like, how did you know that? Why are you so sneaky that you're teaching him about all these secret apps and stuff like that? Like, she just seemed like a negative influence from the get-go, but he couldn't see that because he was sort of, fooled sexually, I guess. You know what I mean? And then at 3 hours and 47 minutes, August 8th, it is, Nikki's telling her friends about Chris, and Nikki's friends are Googling and searching Chris only to find out that he's married. And of course, telling their friend Nikki, like, hey, did you realize this guy is married? And she's basically like, okay, just don't even, like he's planning to divorce his wife, blah, 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 which is all, of course, not true. And then he finds out that Nikki's actually on eHarmony and she's setting up dates on the side. So she's not only, dividing this marriage, but she's also having fun on the side trying to meet up with other people. I mean, oh my gosh, like this woman, like seriously. Like it almost seems like she was trying to make him jealous or something, by acting like this, or by saying like, hey, listen, I've got some other, people that want me, kind of thing. I think it looked as if to me that she was in hoping that he was going to be like, oh no, please don't, and I love you and I want you and whatever, right? And then they go into talking a little bit about Jim, and that he's from, like he was working in the oil field as well. He was in North Dakota, I think Pereira or something. I didn't really understand that very well as to where. But he's certainly in the same oil industry, and we knew that from the beginning. Excuse me. He describes a little bit of his home life during the time that Sandra and Frankie came to live with them and help them with the kids and stuff like that, and how it was really nice to have them close at family, family gatherings, and they were there to help and whatnot, but that it was a little bit stressful at times, sometimes. The bankruptcy seemed to really sort of throw him in 2015, that he never really thought that that was going to happen. And, it was a huge eye opener for him. The wedding costs were huge. They had doctor bills. There was an endoscopy that needed to be paid for. The girls were sick sometimes, needing operations or overnight stays in the hospital with breathing issues. All of these expenses sort of kept piling up, although during this bankruptcy, it did not include, all of the medical bills. It included sort of all the smaller stuff, but they had some trouble, and they were paying December 2017, January, February, and March 2018's mortgage out of their 401k. Chris didn't really have any access to the accounts and stuff like that, so he kind of trusted that this was going to get paid or whatever. But then it seemed as if Shanann sort of did the same thing with him, and would message him when it was time to pay the mortgage, and just, hey, could you go and clear that up, kind of thing. So I don't know if they just had miscommunications or something, but the Monet hair product purchase actually came up as well at like, 2:51 in the morning, kind of thing. This purchase is trying to go through, and it's just like, was somebody awake that was purchasing something, or was somebody actually, was this just an automated type of thing? And they were trying to question Chris to find out about that. Oddly enough, though, his response is, maybe Shanann was getting Nicole Atkinson something. I'm just like, where did that come from? That was a little bit odd, and I thought I'd bring it up. At the 4-hour mark, he's stating that he didn't even want to admit it to himself, never mind have to say it out loud as to what exactly happened with Shanann as well as the girls. It took him 2 weeks, he says, to spit it out just to his friends about what he had done. And then, he's further sort of goes into stating what they could have done in order to get him to admit a lot sooner what he had done wrong and stuff like that, that he was just seriously in shock mode. And yes, if you guys are enjoying this video, please throw up a like sign. And if you're new, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We have a lot of interactive conversations here, so I hope to see you all come back frequently. But it's interesting that Chris starts to sort of try to tell them that, if the video hadn't shown the girls in the truck, that he they could have lied to him in order to sort of get this information pulled out from him. And had they have said, well, we saw the girls in the truck alive, we know that they were alive, he probably maybe would have come out and confessed it a lot sooner, basically letting them know, like, hey, we've already got your mark. We know what you've done and stuff. But it kind of went around in circles for a little while, right? A little bit longer than what was necessary. And he's, they're asking him, what could we have done differently in order to get you to give us this information about what you did so wrong? And he's further stating, well, yeah, if you would have even just lied to me, and told me that you did know and something that you maybe didn't, he says he probably would have admitted things. And then they go into the conversation about what I mentioned earlier about, the people that were coming forward in, droves to say that they knew him from somewhere, they met him from somewhere, they slept with him from somewhere and stuff like this. And if he wanted those people charged for, falsely sort of bringing all of this stuff up and stuff, Interesting that a special operations officer, when he was putting Chris into his cell, basically just slammed the cell door behind him saying, good luck, this is it, this is where this is your last stop kind of thing. Enjoy it. And just kind of slammed the door. Newspapers were, strewn about in and amongst, their common area and stuff. And it was noted, or it was seen by Chris, that there was a big chunk missing out of one of the papers. And, he saw his name in a little bit of the article and stuff. So, I mean, he knew that people were sort of censoring and taking out some of this, stuff that the media has pulled out or whatever, right? And then at 4 hours 7 minutes there, he's saying that he's actually never talked to the police, the CBI, the FBI in his life. Like never, And then when he's asked by Tammy, like, listen, at one point in your investigation, you're in the interrogation room, you're viewing pictures and videos of your girls, and he doesn't even remember or recall doing this. He asks if this was around the time that they showed him a picture of Bella and Celeste. And he says, yeah. And he says, I think that's what triggered it. But he actually doesn't even remember watching the video of the girls, laughing and whatnot while he's sitting in the interrogation room. I wonder if that's the aftershock of everything that he's done, you know what I mean? But he's also not a guy, admittedly, that shows much emotion, making it very difficult for the authorities to be able to read him as to what really happened or whatever, right? He also goes into sort of just kind of like describe what kind of a person he is as far as panic goes, and that he's not somebody to just kind of jump up and be panicked. He even goes into an example of if the kids were lost in a grocery store or something like that, he seriously wouldn't just panic like crazy. He would just calmly walk around and look for them up and down the aisles and stuff like that. And he says, I don't think I'm cold-hearted, but, I know that I don't show emotions like others do, and that his family is the exact same way. He's never seen his dad cry. He's never really cried. That's why we didn't really see a whole lot of emotion during the sentencing hearing and stuff. Even his mother, Cindy, would say when he would come over during, his time in marriage with his wife, that he was really hard to read, that even she didn't know what was going on sometimes. And then at 4 hours and 18 minutes, he says, he admits, I really should have been more emotional. I really should have been like crying out, wondering, crying my eyes out, but I was just talking, he says, and he feels that people are really defining him on his sort of his last moments in life, which understandably so. You murdered your wife and your children. Of course, people are going to be judging you on this, and then you went on national television asking for the world's help to find them. I mean, what did you think was going to happen, right? Some things that were difficult for Chris to hear at the sentencing hearing was, of course, Frankie Sr.'s words of, you took my daughter out like garbage. You were heartless. You were a monster, throwing them away the way that you did. And then, of course, Frankie Jr., I'll never be called an uncle again, but you'll never be called a dad again. I mean, oh my gosh, just ripping at your heart. I liked, Graham's saying of it's better to be 1 foot out of hell facing heaven than have 1 foot out of heaven facing hell. In all honesty, that's pretty accurate. And, I mean, good words to sort of have ringing through your head. You know what I mean? At 4 hours and 21 minutes, Chris says that he never thought he could have a relationship with Bella. And I wonder if he was sort of pointing upwards to, heaven in a sense. He describes how, he reads to Cece and, he has passages that he shares and verses from the Bible that he shares with them, I guess, spiritually and stuff. Definitely hard to think about, you know what I mean? I mean, if we as complete strangers have such a heavy heart watching this happen and go down, I would like to imagine that his heart is even heavier. Although some people have said that it's literally impossible for him to, have some sympathy and empathy about all of this. So tell me your thoughts. What do you think, he hopes that everybody involved gets closure. It's ironic though that he mentions, the team, you guys and friends and everyone else that was involved. Like, what do you mean? Who was all involved? You know what I mean? And then, of course, Tammy sort of reiterating, like, did you want to be the victim and charge these people on these false reportings and stuff? And Chris is like, no, I don't think, charging them would fix anything, let them answer for it themselves and whatever, right? And that's when they sort of seem to start talking about Patrick Frazee and Jake Thomas Patterson, and how Jake Thomas Patterson better watch out if he ends up having to go to the exact facility that Chris is in. Meanwhile, the victim of Jake Thomas Patterson is alive and well in order to breathe and see another day, but yet his girls are dead. I mean, I would almost think that he would be a little bit more concerned for his own safety versus somebody who, like Jake Thomas Patterson, where the victim is survived. You know what I mean? I gotta stop saying that. I just realized I've said it like 4 times in the last like 10 minutes. And then at 4 hours and 28 minutes, he states that once he gets moved into GP, that he'll have access to like better razors in order to shave himself. And, it's obvious that he is very aware that he is going to be going into general population. And, there's going to be different things that could benefit him in that area. So the fact that he only gets a razor with one blade for safety reasons and stuff right now is not always going to be the case. That once he gets into general population, he may even have access to like an electric razor and stuff like that. Dave Baumhover asks Chris if he would ever work fleet maintenance. And, I kind of wondered what that was, because in Canada, we don't have all the same terminologies for things. So I looked it up, and, it's basically it's working off site. And, Chris does state that there is, a kind of a record shop or whatever across the street that some inmates, have been able allocated to go and work at that place for a short amount of time and stuff. And, he is stating that it will probably take quite a bit of time and many years to go, from because he needs to be in low medium security class. And he believes it's going to take quite some time to get from the max down to the low medium in order to qualify for working outside of the prison kind of thing. I don't know if they will do something like that with him, but it's interesting that he's sort of he expresses desire into wanting to help other inmates, such as like being a counselor or personal care worker in a sense, and helping other inmates that are going to be coming into the prison to sort of deal with the process and stuff. He's still getting escorted everywhere that he goes and stuff, but he's also, doing things such as like full contact basketball sports and stuff where they're blocking and, kind of like it's a contact sport somewhat with basketball, right? And they're asking him like, is there any trouble and stuff like that? And he's stating that everybody's really cool with each other, and they're all pretty, calm and chill. And that his, the Waupun Correctional Facility jail is less hectic and less crazy compared to some of the other jails, but he's stating that he'd like to, be this liaison to getting into the prison system and settling down, and the inmates that are coming in to do exactly that. And of course, as I stated, they have no education, services to offer Chris to better himself in that way or whatever. It's just not something that's offered at the Waupun Correctional Facility. But there's, various talks about the, housing cost in Colorado, and just some little minimal talks throughout the ending of all of this. Chris comments, though, about how large the facility is. And of course, you hear the detectives agree that it is quite a huge facility. Long hallways from East Wing to West Wing. But that there's no cellmates, they have their own individual cells at this point because they are not overcapacitated. They're not overcrowded, and with in his specific area, there's like a desk at the front, and there's a big long hall with like 100 cells in there, and you just kind of, the officer walks up and down, sort of checking it. I guess it used to be a medical facility or something. And then they comment right at the end, folks, about how the room has gotten really, really cold. And, they noticed it for like the last 20 minutes or something. And I wonder if that's not the spiritual world of whom they're talking about that perhaps came to visit and chilly up the room. I realize that it's also, winterish over there at that time in February, right? But still, you can't help but wonder if the room really wasn't that cold. And then towards the end, they're like, hey, this room just got really cold. If perhaps they weren't, maybe visited. I don't know. So these were definitely my observations, and by the questions, well, that was one part that really caught me, guys, was the, Graham sort of stating that, yeah, he had spoken to Chris about the bloodshot eyes of Bella, when that conversation actually never came up in this prison interview. So I'm really unsure when that actually happened, because if it was within this visit, which it seemed that the visits happened over a couple of days, like they were there on the 18th or 19th, and then they were there on the 23rd. So I believe that there is more to this that we just don't have access to right now. And Graham sort of verifies that when he responds to Chris and saying, yeah. So if you guys want to listen to that exact part, go to about 3 hours, 11 minutes in, and you will just be passing the conversation about Bella seeing Shanann getting wrapped up and dragged down the stairs because Chris wasn't strong enough to carry her. And that she started crying and stuff like that. And then you'll hear him ask, did you watch the video? And Graham specifically responds, it was hard to see, So there is more, in my opinion, Let me see if I can catch on some comments. I may be wrong, but feel Chris Watts is the happiest he's ever been in a sick sort of way. It has been wrong twice. It's been wrong twice in my life, so could be wrong again. You know what, Cajun Kevin? It almost feels like that he seems almost relieved. At one point, he was saying that he just wanted to get away from this house, not home. I mean, it wasn't anything comfy. It was very much like he felt like that was a burden. It wasn't the comfort zone that it's supposed to be in the house that you live in. It was a burden to him as to how much it cost them to have it. And, with the fact that they were just sort of drowning repeatedly, I believe that he he certainly was, he did seem to appear to be very relieved, you know? And I mean, that's just sad, you know? I'm just going to go heat up my coffee. Of course, I spent so much time chatting. Sorry, guys. He's out of the financial stress as well as the cluster fix that NK had turned his world into. Yeah, no doubt, Lisa. Welcome, Ren and Jennifer. Hello, Miss Coley. Sharon, now instead of women prison guards are babysitting him. No, I don't think so. April Teasy just shows what a loser he is. Couldn't handle anything. He would have done great in the military. The cop shite. I'm a troll usually. I would say inappropriate stuff. I don't know why I say it. Just bored. I do feel guilty after being a dodgy weirdo troll. Oh, and I say sick stuff. I don't actually mean. Okay, well, I appreciate you not doing that. Thank you. Hi, Lisa. All right. Well, don't start because then I'm just going to have to take you out of here. Hi, J Money. Sherry, I always have to save drinking coffee with you, but today I had to have mine earlier. That's okay, Miss Coley. I understand. Hopefully no women guards are taking care of him. Yeah, I don't think so, but I mean, I don't actually know, in all honesty. But I did find it quite interesting to look up some facts on the prison that that he's in. Let me see. Yeah, because I had looked up how many inmates were in the Sterling Correctional Facility, and there's 2,488. With 0 in protective custody. Absolutely 0. Monthly inmate population change. That doesn't really matter. Adult inmate released from prison and community corrections. Parolees by location. I almost, I mean, I don't even want to share it. I'm just looking up everything that I had looked up for this show with you guys. But of course, I'm on different screens, so I'm no longer watching the comments. Darn it. Hey, Laura. I think it was a mental hospital a long time ago. Yes. Who just said that? Click, click, click. Click, click, chick. As long as you don't start trolling, right? You get whacked with a wrench. Yeah, exactly. You're in BC, Ren? That's so cool. I went and saw BC for the first time in my life, actually, last summer. It was awesome. I'd never seen mountains before. It was so cool. Riri Le Monde. Bonjour, bonjour. Spell français. Salut, salut. Yeah, it was formerly mental institution. That is correct. Would anybody that is watching my channel right now like to also be a moderator? That has somebody that's frequented my channel would be great. Somebody who knows what I like and don't like, or what I'm okay with and not okay with. Of course, no porn links are okay at any time. I mean, I'm glad that all three of my other moderators did not see anything like that either, and that we're all as confused as the other one. So, yay, I'm so excited. I have some paperwork coming with the Turpin trial, so I'm hoping that we can dig through that and sort of have a decent show about, what all happened with that and David and Louise Turpin. J Money, I don't know you well enough. That's funny. Sorry, was getting some hot to drink. Brr. It's all melted where I am now. Spring has arrived. We are on our way. April, I heard someone list all of the male Watts family members who'd killed themselves. Interesting. That's kind of horrible. Sheesh. I think internet and social media bring out the worst in us. I think it's easy to get a little bit mad from behind the keyboard and start throwing insults and trash, but karma, karma, karma. If you're going to spend your time, like that, I don't know. I don't think it's going to bring you anything good. You girls are good. Yeah, Lisa, if you're interested in being a mod, I would love to join you to the team. If it's a no pressure type of a situation, whenever you happen to be available. It doesn't have to be every time I'm live. If you're available and you're around, then great, Keyboard smartasses, yeah, no doubt. No doubt. But yeah, I don't want to pressure anybody either. I did want to grab a couple more people who are interested, and we started talking about it about a week and a half ago, and I was like, I don't know if I really want to add too many more, but I definitely want to add a couple. My moderator resume: English, Spanish, 3 years French. Would you like to be a moderator, Miss Coley? That would be fantastic. Tammy, you're already here. You're so funny. Yes, all right. Wonderful to have you join the team. Welcome. Yeah, so this interesting sort of interview that happened here. I believe that there's more to this, and we just didn't get all of it. And there's definitely going to be more to come. I don't think it's going to be the last time that they meet with Chris and talk to him and stuff. And and for good reason. I mean, there's still so many questions that we're like, what the heck is going on? What all happened here? Bye, Gobshite. At home, it's night. Okay. You're a team player, J Money. I definitely more want like people who know exactly what I'm okay with, you know, that we're good with having debates, we're good with disagreeing, we're good with having a difference of opinion without attacking somebody else in the process. So I have the most accurate Chris Watts related channel. Well, thank you. That's awesome, Cajun Kevin. I try to be accurate. I try not to blow things out of proportion. This entire case has been questionable enough that we didn't need to, you know, see things that weren't there or make up stories that weren't true. There was really no need for any of that, in my opinion. You know, gonna have to wait a bit. Might be a schedule change coming up. I don't know how much I'll be able to be here. No problem. Love the shine like Shanann. I did a comment like that today, actually. I do need a bit of a answer, Cajun Kevin. Oh boy, too funny. So, yeah, I definitely think that the way that some of the questioning gives us clues and tips that there is more to come with this situation, you know? I need several here. No kidding, Lisa. Gotta go. Love your channel and subscribe. Thanks, J Money. I appreciate that. Seriously. And I hope you have a great day. Oh, special announcement. I have my logo creator making a cute little cartoon version of me with my TGIS saying, my silly little saying. I don't know how many people will be interested in it, but it'll be something you can switch out if you don't want to buy merch with this logo. You can choose the cartoon type version of me with TGIS. It's fun for sure to create, for sure. It will be cute. I can't wait to see the final. She's still in rough draft stages of it. You guys ever have somebody do something really nice for you, but yet you're like, wait, but this doesn't really look quite right and stuff. You know, that's how I felt like I felt so bad because, you know, somebody takes time to create this, you know, image, but it didn't really look anything like me. And so she's like, no, that's just a rough draft. We really, you know, I'm trying to figure out the letters that you like and stuff like that. So definitely should be really cute. A fun alternative to the more serious, you know, logo that I have. And just something to make you chuckle, conversation piece. People are like, what is that shirt you're wearing? Or what is on that mug? And, you know, it's just a cartoon character of me. I thought it would be fun anyway. Laura is hot. Nice, Ren Cunningham. Yeah, Laura Maud, you got that right. She's smoking hot. She's so cool. She's so cute. Yes, very cool. Click, click, chick. I'm hoping she can get the hair right. I feel like that's going to be one of the hardest parts, but one of the most signature pieces of me in a sense. That side hair with the curls and stuff. I feel like if she could get that bang on with my facial features, we could make this look pretty realistic, you know? But she's the expertise. So I hate the critiquing part of it. That's my problem. It's like, but there's this and that, you know. Hopefully, you know, she doesn't take it too personal, right? I mean, it's not, you know. I'm gonna be having me one. Nice, Tammy. That's awesome. I can't wait to see like the final version too, right? This was just the rough draft of it, so pretty cute, fun announcement, I thought. For sure. Gotta get that. Yeah, I thought it would be fun to make, right? I hope she can get the features right so that people look at it and they just know, like, oh, that's that, you know, that's that YouTube lady. That's what I'm hoping. Probably not the easiest thing to transpire, though. Yes, Miss Coley, they definitely will have your back. At least I hope I have my sister friend here to help me out. Nice. Can't wait to see the new little fun logo, right? I mean, it's not really the logo of my channel. It's more the logo of this cute little saying, this TGIS. Thank God it's Sherry. I always feel supported here. So thank you, Lisa. Yeah, that's awesome, Miss Coley. Anybody have any questions about what we covered? Timestamp wise, I hope you guys are able to just quickly and easily find the points that you're interested in hearing yourself. Going back into the recording of the full prison interview that I had uploaded. Got to get the hair right. You're funny. It is kind of like a support group in a sense. Yeah. Like-minded people coming together to discuss interesting, interactive topics, you know? I'm sure it's going to look great too. Yeah. I'm just excited to see, what that will. Yeah, thank you for the timestamps, right? That's what I thought going through this is if I'm going to be bringing up these points, well, then I better be bringing up where people can find them so that they can also very easily go and look at this, at the various points that I was bringing up, right? But yeah, I thought the timestamps would be helpful. You wonder if Chris Watts will ever move to another prison. He says that if he had the choice, he wouldn't. He would stay where he is. However, if he's ever wanting to better himself in education, then he may have no choice but to transfer because there is no kind of courses that are offered at the Waupun Correctional Facility. So I thought it was kind of interesting that he'd like to be kind of a counselor or liaison person for new inmates coming in and trying to adapt to the prison, Kind of original, too. I don't know if anyone else that uses a cartoon type image. Well, I never thought of that like that. That's a good point, I do want to be different. That is my goal, is to not be like the rest. Be the breath of light and fresh air and the reason for a smile and stuff, Can you imagine how he'd feel if they told him he was going elsewhere? He'd shit a chicken. Yeah, I think he would, actually. He seemed pretty concerned when they had pulled up to the Sterling Correctional Facility. And I would be too, with, double the inmates almost. The chances of him, getting hurt in there would have been a lot higher. And I guess with the gang activity initiation for people who are coming in and stuff, he would have been a prime target for that, right? Yeah, I think he would probably have a heart attack if he found out he was going back to Colorado. I seriously think he would, like Lisa said, shit a chicken. Like, seriously, Hi, Aim. I just don't want him killed until we at least find out more details. Yeah, if he does, yeah, if somebody does kill him, that'll be it. This is all we're gonna get, Send him back to Colorado. Yeah, I apparently, due to Shanann having some connections of people who knew her in that jail, it wouldn't be like it would be a safety risk to put him there. Something that could come back onto the prison. Shit, I'm a chicken, right, Chica? I couldn't help but chuckle about that. Yeah, well, I was a little shocked that it was even something that he would want to do, Hey, Heather, how are you? I feel like if he goes back to Colorado, he's definitely going to get hurt. He's definitely going to get stabbed or something horrible is going to happen. It sounds more like he's going to be going into general population at the Waupun Correctional Facility. And with the fact that they, have over 300 inmates in one wing and every single one of them has a job, that tells Chris that there's a job available for him as well, you know? Excuse me. You're late, but you're good. That's okay, Heather. No worries. We were talking about the rest of the interview process that happened at the prison, some of the glitches that I thought I heard in the recording system, and some of the conversation that happened between the authorities and Chris seemed as though it showed some pretty solid evidentiary proof that there is maybe more to this conversation than what was released to us. Wish they fed him just patches. Oh, man. He'd be running around his cell like a chicken with his head cut off. Working on your motorbike. Cool. Nice. Oh, yeah, I'm sure there'd be more than a few inmates that would want him, Laura. No doubt about it. And it seems pretty obvious that even he knows that. That was the same jail where inmates were telling him how he could kill himself, you know, what he could use in his cell with his sheets and how he could hang himself, how he could fill up his toilet bowl with water and drown himself, and, you know, giving him outs and telling him like what was all going to happen to him by the other guys and stuff as well. They were certainly putting that fear into him, like if you manage to get out of here, good luck, you know, you're going to need it, kind of thing. Chris wants on a stick. Oh, geesh. Oh, geesh. Hello, Bilda, 66. I think you're French. I don't know. Are you trying to say good morning? Wappen is no joke, was what you mean? Yeah, joke. Yeah. Well, and it just appears though as if where he is, he feels like he's not at risk. You know, he feels like he's altered his appearance enough that people don't necessarily know who he is, in order for something bad to happen to him. You know. I wouldn't doubt if he was a little bit worried. He sounded like it when he was trying to say, you know, what he felt about if he was ever moved, what he felt about where he was now and all of that, you know. General population on his part is fairly safe. Exactly. Yeah, the child molester snitches. There's not a lot of, you know, the heinous criminals that are in his wing, kind of thing. Yeah, men trying to leave gang life. Exactly, Lisa. I, for one, want him to live a very long time because death would be too easy for him. Yeah, that's kind of exactly my standpoint as well, as far as the death penalty goes and stuff. And with the history on the death penalty, like I've shared with you guys, you know, there's only been one person that's ever gone to, you know, to follow through with death row. So I think it is more of a punishment to have them sitting and thinking about what they've done and you know, living that out every day as a realization of this is where you're going to be for the rest of your life is more of a punishment than just knowing, you know, your end date and stuff, right? I did discuss the Jodi Arias case a little bit. You know, that case was brutal, you know. It just goes to show like there's extremes in both sexes. It's not just men, it's not just women, it's, you know, for sure both, you know, but it's certainly a horrible case. Absolutely. Yeah, I hope he lives till he's 105. Yeah, exactly. Sheesh. He'd be a Chris kebab. Lisa, you're so funny. Sheesh. But yeah, the Jodi Arias case was just brutal. I honestly, you know, I was beside myself, you know, to know that you've done that to somebody. You're stabbing him while he's in his shower, and just brutal, you know, absolutely brutal. Hi, Lisa Bennett. Chris Kebab. I know, right? I mean, it's super funny, actually. I mean, as much as it's not, but you know what I mean. All kinds of people in here. Absolutely. The more the merrier. Hello, hello. Ron doesn't upload. Hi. What are you ordering? A number 9 and a number 6 with extra dip? Like, what the heck are you talking about, dude? Right, Heather? I'm laughing reading it too. Like, what the fiddle? Ron doesn't upload. Yeah. If you want extra dip, look in the mirror. You're funny. That's scary to think about, Cajun Kevin. Absolutely scary to think about, for sure. Hello, Bruce Diaz. Nice to meet you, Princess. Oh, aren't you sweet? You're funny, Envy Surab. I think there's good and bad in everything. There's good and bad in government. There's good and bad in hospitals. There's good and bad in teachers. There's good and bad in priests. There's good and bad in nuns. There's good and bad in absolutely freaking everything you can think of. There's good and bad. It's a choice. It's a choice in this world. That's what free will is about. What you choose to do with your time on earth, in my opinion, good and bad in everything. You have to choose. It's your choice ultimately what you want to be for this world and what you choose to, attribute and put yourself into, and your time, your energy, your money, your resources. I mean, if you're focusing on, the bad and that's what you're going for, well, there's a lot of people in the world that are exactly that. But I mean, there's a lot of people that are doing the exact opposite and being the light to other people and being the savior in a sense, right? The hero, being the positive aspect to life. But I mean, it's a choice. It really ultimately is a choice. Chris and Jody have similar personalities. I don't know about that, Chica. I feel like, Jody was more like the controlling, jealous type woman. Chris was more like the submissive, father husband that didn't know how to speak up about, what he thought or felt or wanted, But I don't know about the same person. You can see, Princess. You're funny. I don't know if they're like the same personality. I feel like there might be a little bit more like opposites, but still, extreme in the moment. You know what I mean? Cute girl, do you speak Spanish? The only Spanish I know is hola, ¿cómo estás? And muy bien. And loco and loca and chica and I don't know, like very few words. No, I don't really speak Spanish. Cousin is famous. My cousin is a leader and awesome to the fans. Wow, that's so cool, Ren. Right on. Yeah, she went completely psycho. I mean, I don't know. Like, if we could see exactly what Chris had done that night or that early that morning on August 13th, we might be able to maybe better say, yeah, they're completely alike. They went psycho. They both went psycho in different ways or whatever, But I don't know. Yes, Lisa, I do feel her boyfriend abused her mentally. You talking about Jody? Yeah, when Jodi Arias's victim, what was his name again? I can't remember off the top of my head right now, but when she did what she did to him, um, she literally completely lost it at that point, in my opinion, you know? And to be photographing it all the way through and stuff, like, you know, that's just heinous all in itself. Like, oh my goodness. Your dog tried to moderate for me with her paw. Uh-oh. The chick on the edge, gotta be careful. My parents both were Canadians. You say it in past tense, Cajun Kevin. Are your parents no longer alive? They both were Canadians? I don't know. Jodi Arias was a little bit completely insane. Yep. And snapped. Yep. Which I can understand where Chica's coming from in the sense that, you know, like they both kind of snapped in a sense, right? But Travis Alexander, thank you so much, Bet Foster. Thank you. You know, it's one of those things that if you don't have it in front of you, but we're just generally talking about it, I'm like, darn it, who is that again? You know, I have so many cases that I read a little bit on here and there. Thank you for telling me that. Yes, Travis. Yeah, in my opinion, she completely lost it. Yeah. The pictures, right? I don't even know if the pictures were something that was happening that she knew was happening. You know what I mean? I feel like she was holding the camera to trick him, and you know, that's when she started stabbing him. And I think that a few photos got taken in the process of all of that as well, you know. But then she tried to throw it into the washing machine. Like, brutal, that girl. Lisa, I think that just goes to show that, you know, like as individuals, you don't really necessarily want to do something for someone else, because the moment that, you know, that goes wrong or sideways, or it isn't what you thought anymore, it's going to make you, you know, want to go back to what, or do, you know, like for instance, if I'm going to quit smoking for you, right? And then you know, that they piss you off or whatever, you go outside and you have a smoke and you're just like, well, you made me so mad, so I went and had a smoke. Like, you know, if you do anything for anybody else, the chances of you having success in it is going to be a lot less, in my opinion. If you're doing it for yourself, ultimately, like honestly for yourself, it will be something that could be successful for you, whatever it is that you're doing or not doing. If you're doing it for someone else, it's not going to be as successful. That's the way I see that, you know. Hello, Razor Six. What? And then Lady Shady, what do you make of Carly Goose? I don't think I've covered that story or followed that case at all, Lady Shady. Sorry. I cannot comment. Never thought about pics being unintentional. I thought that the pictures seemed unintentional because they weren't lined up. Like the photos that you saw in the evidentiary process of the trial, it very much appeared like they really had to look at the photo to distinguish what it was, which tells me that, you know, she wasn't actually really even hitting that button like herself, like click click click, you know. But I could almost sort of picture her, because she was holding the camera, she was fooling him in that way, right, to turn around, but she had the knife in the other hand. And so I feel like it was accidental photos that she really wasn't intentionally taking that ended up being part of the crime scene, you know. Brutal, that girl, seriously. Yeah, just wash the camera. That just shows her mentality level of like, honestly, did you really think you were going to be able to get rid of anything like that? Because no. They died a week apart. Oh my gosh, Kevin, that's so sad. It was very difficult for you to handle it. Yeah, no doubt. I'm so sorry for your loss. Seriously, that's brutal. Lisa's blessed to still have her parents. Nice. She has Parkinson's and he has COPD. You know a little bit about that case, Lady Shady? I don't really know anything about that. I'm sorry, I can't comment. Thank you for the comment or compliment. The commented compliment, Razor 6. I appreciate it. Very kind of you. Ren Cunningham, well said. Do I believe that he was shot before stabbing? I believe that he died just from stab wounds. I don't think there was a gun involved, actually. From what I remember from the Jodi Arias case. Yeah, Laura would be able to relate, right? With you losing your dad. That's so sad. I literally almost started crying when I was watching your video. I was like, aw. Hey, Nasty Nate. Bet Foster, you've been following the 8-month-old baby Emma Robertson missing and Andy Loftus in Indiana. The meth head tweakers are turning that case into a Jerry Springer show. Aw, that sucks. No, I've not been following that case. It's the first time I've heard about it, Bet Foster. Sorry. There's so many cases going on all around the world of evil and bad things that are happening, to good people. But isn't that the way that it's always been, right? Yeah, that is a shame. Totally. Oh, that's so funny, Miss Coley. Shaylee would sound like Lady Shady. That's funny. B. Jones says he was shot in the face. I do not remember that, but as I said, I haven't actually fully dived into that case. I watched a little bit of it as it had happened, and I did see a documentary on it on Discovery or A&E or something like that. So I could be missing the detail, having not had the story or case fresh in my head. So my apologies for that. If that is the case, I would trust somebody who's been following it more than me. I honestly looked into it like under a handful of times, like a few times, That's how many times I looked at it. So that's sad that it's literally turned into a circus. That's very, very sad. The attention should be on little Amia. Yeah, no kidding. Like Sherry's content. Smash that like button and subscribe. Sherry provides great true stories and also provides updates. Yes. And a lot of positivity talk, right? Life is hard and there's a lot of people that are down and depressed, including myself, to be honest. But if I can be a glimmer of hope of even throughout depression, you can possibly be happy. You can possibly still go on and not feel like it's the end of the world in a sense, We're going to live on despite the depression, right? It's no point in fixating on it or becoming angry and emotional from it, but rather to just build up our strength in our diversity and overcome it together, I don't know. I think it's possible, in my opinion. If you have good around you and you surround yourself with good, I think it's absolutely possible to raise your level of happiness, right? And conscious happiness. Like you're actually aware of it, that you're enjoying whatever it is that you're doing or whatever's going on in the moment. Having those little realizations that, as hard as life is and is as much trials and tribulations that we go throughout, each individual person has their own, right? That it's possible to still be happy, Okay, thank you, B Jones. I appreciate you telling me that. I like I said, I just didn't have the details, you know. Heidi Shady, do you think Watts will get another prison visit? Yeah, I actually do think they will go back and talk to him again. He needs to be careful. He said way too much about the security guard. So that guy stopped calling him Lisa. And Lisa's talking about another case. Positive talk. Oh man, no, we're not talking like that. Positive talk, but about life and moving forward despite depression and labeling and medication and whatever, right? And then we also talk about the crimes and true stories, What things do you do to not stay in depression? Well, I think that getting regular fresh air is important, even if it's just sitting out on your front step or whatever. I am medicated though as well. So I have an antidepressant. I have medical marijuana in my life, so I do use that. Thank you, Don Juan. And then I just think like doing things that make you happy. Like I enjoy cooking certain things, so I will do that in order to brighten my spirits up. Reading verses in my Bible, in all honesty, gets me more, I feel like empowered or strengthened when I tap into my God. I pray a lot. I just I refuse to let everything that is not going the way that I thought it was going to, or the things that are depressing and hurtful, bother me 24/7. Like I move past it. If it's not something that I can control, there's really no point in me sitting there stewing on it. It might bother me a little bit and I'll talk about it a few times, but then I'm going to let it go, because if you stay there, you're hurting yourself. It's detrimental to you to constantly be revisiting something that is out of your control. So it's better for you to just, pick yourself up in whatever it is that you do that makes you happy. If that's coloring or painting or going for a walk or doing a specific sport or, shopping, whatever it is that makes you happy. I recommend tapping into that. So you have to know yourself a little bit to understand what makes you happy to pull yourself out of that depression. And you know what, you guys, in all honesty, sometimes it's just sitting alone and shutting out the world that helps me to just rejuvenate myself to come back to positivity again, And sometimes it is just cursing and swearing and getting mad at the world and you know, and then you move on, right? I mean, like I said, if you live in the negativity for too long, it's only going to deteriorate yourself. So it's better to figure out what makes you happy and tap into those things, regularly. Making time for yourself, you know what I mean? Maybe it's even just doing your makeup or your hair or something, or going to a spa or whatever it is that makes you happy. You got to tap into those things. Watching swans in the lake is so relaxing, right, Elaine? Love that. Absolutely love that. And to top that off, you could bring yourself like a bag of bread, a few slices, rip it to pieces and throw them out to the birds. I mean, just seriously, just it builds your heart. It just grows your fuzzy, warm, good feeling inside, Walk around the block, fresh air, exercise. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks for the hearts. Click, click, chick. Your name is fun to say. Click, click, chick. And then, of course, you got the wicked 007. So that's just awesome. That's what you have us for, too. Yeah, tapping into like-minded people to get some encouragement, too, is always empowering and inspiring, Yeah, I take the antidepressants too. I think regulating whatever might be going on with a hormonal imbalance or whatever's happening inside, it's important to take care of that. it's not necessarily the best route to go, like, oh, I don't want to take any pharmaceuticals, I don't want to have to be on a pill in order to be happy. That's not what it's about. It's about that if you're stuck on the things that make you so sad and bring you down, and you aren't able to take yourself out of it yourself, you may need some medication, and there's nothing wrong with that. You may need it temporarily, you may need it permanently. That is probably honestly up to you, to sort of decide at one point in your life that you're well enough to work with your doctor to wean yourself off of the medications that you're on, or is it something that is a permanent imbalance that you are always going to need to be medicated by? There's nothing wrong with being medicated, but I remember a certain time in my life even feeling like that was a bad thing. It was a stigma that I didn't want to have attached to me. But I've been through a lot of shit, and I'm not about to just sit here and say, well, I've got all the power to bring myself up out of this, and I'm fine, I'm perfect. I can admit that I'm not fine, or I'm sad, or there's some things that bother me that I'm still stuck on, that I do need the medication to sort of help pull me up out of it. And I'm not afraid to admit that, and it doesn't make me feel like less of a person. In fact, it makes me feel more responsible to be self-aware that I am dealing with so much, that I can't do this myself, and I do need some medical help right now. And I might not always need it, but we'll visit that then. It's not something that you need to be too overly hard on yourself about. And there's so much ups and downs in life, that self-awareness of knowing, listen, I'm really down, and I've been down for a while, and I can't seem to pull myself up out of this, or something like that, is important. And in fact, like, I tip my hat to the people who can actually really self-evaluate and say, listen, I think I might be part of the problem here. I may need some help. And there's nothing wrong with that, in my opinion. You clean your truck, it makes you happy. That's awesome. Yeah, cleaning often makes a lot of people happy, right? Love the looking at the stars. That's an awesome way to sort of, de-stress, just to look at the abyss of the world. And hey, if you can manage to get somewhere into the country, the stars are just tenfold amazing. You get to see so many other ones that aren't really visible in the lights of the cities or whatever, right? Excuse me, pardon me. Have a meltdown if you need to. Yes, exactly. But I mean, move on. And if you can't, you might want to get some help, right? Little Savvy One. I'm on antidepressants and antipsychotics because I have bipolar. I like watching the fish aquariums on YouTube and bright colors. Soft music is relaxing. It helps a lot. That's really awesome. And the fact that you are aware that you have this kind of imbalance, that you have bipolar and you're on your medications for that, in my opinion, is responsible. The people who have diagnosed illnesses that sort of look at the medication as a negative thing, that's a bad way to look at it. There's some people that do need medications. For instance, the Vince Lee guy who beheaded the boy on the Greyhound bus here in Canada. He was not taking his medications because, for whatever reason, he thought that it wasn't something he should be on. He felt fine. Meanwhile, he had schizophrenia, and he wasn't medicating himself, and therefore, started hearing voices and whatever, and ended up doing a really heinous act for no reason, all because he was embarrassed to be on some medication. That's a little bit of bullshit, if I might say so myself. I think it's empowering if you are at an age where you could say, hey, listen, there might be something wrong, and I maybe should go get checked and address it and take care of it in order to go on and lead a fairly normalish life. There's nothing wrong with the people who suffer from these various, illnesses and depression and whatnot, but maintaining and regulating it so that you're not bringing down everybody around you or yourself is really important. You're cool with taking medication. Yeah, me too. See, but I was raised like, my mom made it like the worst thing ever. Her mom was, a double substance abuser with alcohol and pills. And that was back in the day when you didn't need, well, they weren't connected. You could go to each and every doctor on the block if you wanted to and get a prescription from each one of them. no matter that you just got the same thing from the last one kind of thing. So my mom always had it in her mind that it was really negative to be taking any kind of pills. Growing up and stuff, Tylenol was very rare in my house. Like in the house that I was raised in as a child, it was not something that was really condoned or given. It was more like take a nap and you'll be fine, or walk it off, or whatever, because there was this stigma attached to the abuse of what her mom did and stuff, which is unfortunate, right? She had a bad experience that she carried with her entire life, and then projected it onto her children, because of her fear. When in all honesty, and then as I was growing up, realizing, that I really was having some sad issues all the time, it wasn't until I was in my, late 20s that I was able to go and see a doctor and say, listen, like, I think I might be depressed. I don't know. Like, I'm crying randomly. I'm in the, out in the store doing groceries, and I'm starting to cry in the middle of the store and stuff. Like, I couldn't control myself. I couldn't even get myself to the store most of the time, never mind, survive the trip and stuff. That it took a huge amount of awareness for me to say, okay, listen, I might have an issue here. And I went to my doctor, and that's when we started working with antidepressants. And it took a few years to get the right one. We had to go through a bunch of different ones in order to find the one that worked for me. And that was a hard process all in itself, I won't lie. But now that, I'm here and I've had the same med for years, like, I don't think I could, be okay right now without it, based on my current family situation and my children and everything that's going on in my private life. It's something that I feel I still need. Now, later on, once, they maybe come back and we have a relationship, I might not need that anymore. And I could at that point maybe go to my doctor and say, like, I think I'm far better, where I am emotionally and mentally, to wean myself off of what I'm taking, So so sexy IT tips. Thanks. You're so sweet. Thank you. Thank you. Soul music takes you to another level. That's a great alley for cheering yourself up, is music. Absolutely. You're scared to take your Percocet because I worry I'll get hooked on them. Yeah, Percocet can be dangerous, but you have to have like, if you know that about yourself, then you might want to tell your doctor, can we work with something that's similar to that, but not that, that I get the same effect, but it's not actually Percocet, because it is known for being abused and overused. I'm a little savvy. It took a lot to convince me to take them, but I now realize medication is best. Medication is definitely the way to go to start feeling better. I hate the stigma attached to bipolar. Yeah, I really hated the stigma attached to taking medication, period. It's kind of like that, like, I take the stance of, listen, it's actually none of your business. And if I'm okay with it, it really doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. You got to do what's right for you, and only you can feel how you're doing and how you're handling life. It starts inside to be able to work with the doctor and get the help and try different medications. It starts first with you. If you realize it's not just an unusual sinus situation, you can't get yourself up out of it, then yes, yeah, please go talk to your doctor. Exactly. Yeah. And that was what I noticed, was like, I wasn't doing anything anymore. I wasn't able to go to the store. And when I did finally push myself to do it, I was a wreck. I was a mess. I couldn't even do laundry without bursting out crying. Like, I mean, it was just ridiculous. So I definitely come like lengths and strides, and I would attribute that to my medications, that that long road of trying all these various types and kinds in order to get to where I'm at. Yeah, I certainly did not enjoy the process of trying all the different meds, because you have to give it at least a month or two to kind of regulate in your system, maybe even 3 sometimes, you guys. And that all in itself is just frustrating, because there's a lot of side effects that are attached to the pharmaceuticals. I'm just going to run to the washroom and grab one last cup of coffee. Okay. There's a great American group in 2019 giving me goosebumps. Nice. There's some singers that really do that, actually. Goosebumps like crazy. Sharon. Marijuana is not legal where I live. Maybe one day it will be. Yeah. Excuse me. Here in Canada, it was legalized just this last year, October 2018. And I don't think that Canada could have got any more friendlier. We were already friendly Canadians, but now you legalize that and we're all just loving everybody. Guess I just can't deal with talking about meds and being homeless or addiction today. I don't want to put myself in a mood right now. Sorry, guys. A lot of good things happening and I want to stay happy. Aw. Well, yes, of course. That's the goal, is to stay happy throughout the trials and tribulations, no matter what you're going through. But I mean, somebody did ask, right? Like, how do you maintain being happy? And I was pretty honest, like I do use my God quite often, actually, like regularly every single day, You love the belt and the shirt? Thank you. But yeah, I really like the material, actually. It's a really neat, sort of a rich looking material. I like it. It's so soft. And of course, I love the butterfly, right? I mean, who doesn't love a butterfly belt? But thank you for the compliment. Click, click, chick. Yeah, things will get better, Heather. No doubt it should be legal. Yeah, I hear you. I totally hear you. And I think that now that so many different states have gone legalizing, Canada's legalized, I hear Australia's not far behind, also want to legalize. So I think it's going to pick up, Yes, I'm a Canadian chick all the way, Ren Cunningham. You said you're in BC? I'm in Manitoba. I'm in central Canada. Weed made me even more paranoid, made my brain foggy, but it did chill and calm you. I smoked it for about a year because, and then the paranoia sort of set in and you're like, forget it. I can relate. What's that? Yeah. At work still? She's usually till 3:30, right? Yeah, I thought so. Oh, okay. Yeah. 3:54, so maybe she's just running late, But yeah, I thought she was so. Or maybe she said it was 8 to 4. I think she might have said 8 to 4. Yeah, she said their schedule changed for a couple of days. Oh, that's right. Yeah, see? I gotta go sit on her step birthday. Yeah. Lock the door. Oh, shit. Oh, no. Yeah, she should be here soon, I guess. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. Okay, see you later. Sorry, guys. Canadian chick, but yeah. You make me crave coffee the way you enjoy it. Aw, you need to order a mug. That would be great if you wanted to order a mug. Tammy usually grabs my my merch store thing. I think I could look it up this time though. Let's see. All right. Here is the merch store link. It's a strain that causes. Sometimes it is the strain of marijuana that causes the paranoia. That's true. When you are happy, don't allow other people to bring you down. That is how I stay happy. Avoid toxic, self-centered people. Yeah, but I mean, if people know exactly what hurts you or what irritates you or brings you down, some people are malicious enough to actually, put the seed there and bring you down purposefully. It's not legal where you live, Chica. Oh, fentanyl's bad. That is so true, Lady Shady. Family support goes a long way, but if you don't have it, it can be something that's creating for life to be even harder, And shame on those families that do that to people. It's really unfortunate and sad that some families choose to annihilate one or the other, that's just ridiculous. I can relate, and it's sad. You have to pray that God has mercy on their souls for real, Heather. Elaine. There's a drug very good for epilepsy. Yeah, the CBD oils are really good for that kind of the epilepsy and stuff. Yeah. Bye, Click Click Chick. Have a great day. Teach you what, Miss Coley? Sherry, Dawn. Sorry, Dawn. It's easy to do dermal patch. You got to run, Lisa. Okay, have a great day. Love you too, hon. Elaine says, I'm not religious. I'm not a religious nut, but God sends us things he knows we are strong enough to deal with. Yeah, I completely agree with that. I'm not a religious nut either. But I mean, I very much tap into my God and praying, and it's my strength, but I'm not like I hate the judgmental people who think they're so godly, but yet they're sitting there judging other people. Like, you're not allowed to do that, but whatever, to each their own. We all have choices, I don't know what smoking cream is. Sounds weird. Many are highest drugs to stay. Yeah, that's not good. Not good at all. Don Juan. Yeah, Nasty Nate. That's good that you have family support. It's not something that I've ever really had either, sadly, Hello, United Province. You're spoiled. That's funny. You got to go, little savvy. Yes. Well, we're wrapping this up too. It's been really great hanging out and chatting about this Watts case and really diving into all of this. I hope that you guys pop back in for another true story with me. And if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button and throw up a like before you head out the door. I appreciate the support. So we will be back again. Tuesdays and Saturdays are a regular live show, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. So I hope to see you all come back and more of you. I hope you guys all have a great rest of the day. It's TGIS. Thank God it's Sherry. And we'll see you guys again soon for another true story with me. Have a great day, folks. Stay safe out there. Bye for now.